So, it's that time of the year again. It's October 1st, and you know what that means. Halloween's coming up, and I look forward to it every year. So, this is where I start my 31 Days of Fright. And just to remind you, in case you didn't watch the previous video, I watch one movie every day up to Halloween. So that's 31 movies in a row. Yeah, it's a lot, but worth it and fun as fuck. So, just to clarify again, I watch one movie every day. I talk about it, say any little quirky things, trivia, anything of that nature. So, this is the first time I'm actually doing this off my YouTube channel, but I'm still going to be doing my written reviews on my social media, such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, which you should definitely follow those if you haven't already. But anyway, just to clarify as before, I'm going to be talking about some movies I already talked about in the previous years. I'm just going to go into a little bit more detail this time since I'm doing this on my channel. So if I already talked about a movie I already have before on my Instagram and Facebook, I'm going to do an additional one just for you guys. So you're going to get 2 reviews in one day except the one. See, kids, isn't it cool to read? So let's get this marathon started. So I just want to set the stage, because the first movie, for me at least, is always the hardest because it has to set the stage, give a theme or anything like that. And for me, just by sheer coincidence, I always started my marathons with a modern movie. And just to give you a quick idea of what modern is to me, it's basically any movie I remember seeing a trailer for in my lifetime, or the earliest time I can remember seeing a trailer, or being played in theaters at some point in my lifetime. So for me, modern movies start at 2002, because that was the first time I started really remembering movie trailers for this kind of stuff. So with that in mind, the first movie we're going to talk about is Midsommar. Midsommar, yeah, the movie that's directed by Ari Aster, or at least that's how I think it said. I could be wrong, so I apologize now if I get it wrong. Because my first ever review ever on any social media or anything was Hereditary. And if you did read that review, you already know how I feel about it. So I'm already starting this marathon on a low note. At least I have low expectations of what it should be. But enough of me rambling. Let's get this started with Midsommar.
So, the plot. It follows this group of college students that just happen to go to this hippie commune because their friend invited them to it to witness this great festival that only happens every 9 years, and weird stuff starts to happen as it goes on. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. I'm just going to stop explaining the plot because I don't want to spoil anything in case you haven't seen it yet. So at this point, I'm just going to talk about the thoughts I had and anything I've noticed in the background. So for starters, it has a really slow start. But the thing about Midsommar is that it has a better start than Hereditary in my opinion. For me, Hereditary was just really slow, and I didn't feel like it was going to go anywhere, and I lost interest before the halfway mark. But with Midsommar, I didn't really have that feeling. I was genuinely interested in what was going on. Yeah, it's slow, but enough to the point where it holds your interest. That is a big plus for me compared to Hereditary. I genuinely liked the setting. I don't know if it's just me, but the buildings have this old German expression type feel to it with all those slanted angles, and they don't seem to be like a traditional house. It always has those kind of angles that don't really make sense. And I also get this Wicker Man feel. No, not the Nick Cage one.
What is that? What is it? Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast! Ah! Open my eyes! Ah!
We don't talk about that.
Not cool. Not cool!
I really do like the long, drawn-out shots. It reminds me of how movies used to be made. It definitely has some suspense because you want to know what is really going on here. You definitely feel like something big is going to happen. There's definitely some weird parts in this movie. Specifically with this one part, I'm not going to show you it because I don't want to really spoil it, but I think this gets the point across.
I wanted to thank you for being so great to me. So I baked you a pie.
Oh, wow. Hey, that looks delicious. Oh, this is good. What's in there?
Well, there's some apples and some cinnamon and my hair.
What?
My hair is in the pie, Brian. And now it's inside of you. Part of me is inside of you, Brian. Do you feel me, Brian? Do you feel me inside of you?
One thing I do really like is how you see the effects of the drugs that they are taking from the person who's taking them's perspective. I mean, when you're seeing them on like some type of LSD or acid, you start to notice a lot of like weird effects in the background, like shapes and different movements in the background. It's really cool, and you don't really see that a lot in movies nowadays, or really ever. You gotta love it. And you know how I said that I didn't really lose interest before the halfway mark? Well, I started to lose interest about 3/4 of the way in, because this movie suffers from the same problem that Hereditary did, that the movie doesn't go anywhere, at least in my opinion, or it does a really bad job of really showing you the climax of the story. These movies are pretty long movies. For example, this is 2.5 hours long, and I wasn't really satisfied with the ending, to be honest. It was just too long for me. If they would have cut probably like 30 minutes out, it would have been fine. And it's also kind of predictable. I use the word kinda because you can tell where they're going with the idea. It's just not exactly how you would think it would actually play out. Am I the only one that feels this way? Also, there are just some parts of the movie that don't really seem to go anywhere, or they're just not fleshed out very well. Like, I was asking myself, what is the point of all this? Is this really going to go anywhere? Another problem that I have with this movie, and Hereditary suffered the same fate, was that they explained the whole plot of the movie in the last few sentences of the film. But to be fair, I feel like this movie does it a little bit better, but that's not really saying that much. It's just not satisfying for my taste. But I can say this, if you're a fan of Hereditary, you'll most likely like this one. It's not a bad movie. Same with Hereditary. They're not bad. It's just not really for me. But I would recommend it to other people. Well, only to people that like Hereditary. I also want to say this before I get comments or messages from people saying that, oh, you don't like this movie because it's too intellectual for your Neanderthal mind. Like, I get it. Like, this movie's very not in your face with its plot or like its messages or anything like that. But I'm not really into that unless it's like a really compelling story. And for me, it wasn't really compelling. It was a lot better than Hereditary, I'll give it that. But for me, it didn't satisfy my need for that. Like, there's other movies that I think that are way better in that category. But hey, like I said before, if you liked Hereditary, you'll probably most likely like Midsommar. And if you like both of them, I have no problem with that.
So that was my first day of 31 Days of Fright, and I hope you liked it. And if you did like it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow my other social medias, because like I said before, if I talked about a movie before on this channel, I'll be writing another one on my other social medias, so you'll get 2 on those days. So you should definitely follow my Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for the meantime. Well, first days are always rough, but it's going to be smooth sailing the rest of the way. So if you liked it, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you tomorrow.